Hi, second grade. It is so good to see you again. Last week we were diving into measurement, which you did not have a chance to do in first grade, right? So we got to do some of our first grade standards last week, and this week we get to dive into second grade goodies. Last week we were using tiles and paper clips and cubes and other cubes, using tons of different things to measure. Well, today, after we read our learning target, we're going to learn about something else we can use to measure that I think will make your measuring a little bit more efficient. Remember that word efficient? It means quick, but it also means correct. So let's take a peek at our learning target and then we're going to get started. I can use objects to measure length. Oh, friends, we've used tons of objects between those cubes, between our paper clips, our tiles, and even big old Post-it notes to measure things, right? Remember, we had this big notebook we were using Post-its to measure. We can use tons of objects to measure things and measure how long something is. And so when we says to measure length, we're asking how long is it? Or maybe even how tall it is. But how long is it when we're measuring length? Now, all of these guys right here, those are called units of measure, right? But they're a special kind of unit of measure. They're called non-standard. A non-standard unit of measure means that it's not the same for everybody. That means that when I say, hey, I used my cubes to measure that. It was 8 cubes long. Cubes might look like this to one person, but they might look like this to somebody else. Now, talk to me about this. Are you going to have as many cubes long in one of these as the other? No. So we wouldn't get the same measurement with these. Or you might say, yeah, I use paper clips to measure that. Well, guys, guess what? Are all paper clips the same? Here's a paper clip we used last week. Here's the one we're going to use this week. Are they the same? No. One is much longer and much bigger than the other one. So these non-standard units are units we can use to measure, but they're not the same for everybody. So today we're going to spend some time talking about another kind of unit of measure that hopefully levels it out for everyone who's measuring something. Before we can do that though, let's warm it up with a little non-standard unit of measure. Let's take a look at my marker. Look at that marker. How long is it? Well, remember, when we're thinking about how long something is, we're talking about its length. That means from start to finish, how long is it? What could I use to measure? Well, I could use my tiles. I could use my little cubes. I'm going to use some paper clips. Now, where do I need to start this paper clip? Let's go back and think about how we can use our rules of measurement to help us. What do I need to do first, friends? I need to start at the beginning and I need to end at the end. So I'm going to start my beginning of my paper clip. And guys, if you see me having a hard time, keep that in mind for the question I'm going to be asking you after we're done. Can you see my little paper clip up there? I started at the start. What am I going to do next? What else do I need to remember? Ooh, yeah. Can I put my paper clip here? No, that's overlapping. I got to butt it right up against the other paper clip. It slanted down a little bit. I got to get it just right. Ooh, yes, it has to be straight in that straight line, right? Can't overlap. What do I do next? Ooh, can I use my big paper clip? I can't find another little one. Can I use this big one? oh, whew, it's not the same unit. It has to be, even though they're both paper clips, it has to be the same unit, which means it's also the same size. And look at that, that's not the same size. I've got to use my smaller one. So I'm gonna come up here, hold my paper clip in place, and tape it down. Can I stop right there? Whew, I'm tired. What do you mean I can't stop right there? Oh, I have to go to the end. All right. All right, all right, all right. Here we go. Oh, now can I stop? Oof. Well, I'm not quite to the end, but I'm pretty close. Well, I'll put one more, but I'm going to mark where it stops so that you guys can see it. Because this is not an exact measurement, is it? It's almost. Is it closer to 5 or is it closer to 4? Here we have our 1, our 2, our 3, our 4, and our 5. Looks like it's closer to 4, doesn't it? It's just a little tiny hair away from 4, but it's like a whole finger and a half away from 5. So I would say it's almost what? It's almost 4. And what's my unit? Small paper clips long. And that's important to include when we're describing the length of an object, right? We've got to say the number of the unit, but we also have to say what the unit is that we're measuring with, right? That's an important piece because it would not be 4 big paper clips long, would it? No. So it would not be almost 4 big paper clips. It is 4 small paper clips. Did I follow all my rules of measurement? Did I start at the beginning and end at the end? Yeah. I had to think about where I stopped though. Did I leave any gaps? No gaps left. Did I use the same unit? I did, even though I tried to trick ya. Did I overlap? No overlapping. Did I measure in a straight line? Whew, it was hard sometimes, but I did, didn't I? You're right. So, take a peek at that. Those are our non-standard units of measure, right? That's one example of measuring with that. Are paper clips good to measure with? What do you think? A thumb up or a thumb down? Yes, they're good to measure with. No, they're not. Why did you say no? It was really hard for me to keep them straight, wasn't it? Any other thoughts? Other ideas or thoughts? Why do you say no? Oh, yeah, they can get bonked really easily, so they don't stay straight. It's kind of hard. If you can't use the whole thing, you can't get exact, can you? You know, non-standard units of measure can be that way sometimes. They're kind of hard to get just right and follow all the rules perfectly. So guess what I'm going to show you? There's something else that we're going to use in 2nd grade that will be more exact, that will not fall all over the place, be really hard to keep track of. They're called standard units of measure. Say that with me. Standard units of measure. And I'm going to write units underneath of this. I need to write units underneath of this. Units, remember, are what we're using to measure it, right? What is the object we're using to measure, or what? Yes. The non-standard means it's not the same. So what do you think standard means? You're exactly right. It means the same for anyone using that. So let me tell you about 2 of those units right now. One of those units is an inch. When have you heard that before? Yes. Last week, when we were talking about the inch tiles, we were talking about an inch. This is about an inch long. Now let me show you what I mean. I've got something called a ruler. Now this is just a picture of a ruler, but it's one that's easy for you to see. Take a peek at that. Do you see the inches? What else do you notice about that ruler? It starts at 0. What else? There's numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Absolutely. Those numbers are under a longer line, and there's some little lines in between. Absolutely. Good noticings. Well, check this out. I'm going to try to get it just right. What do you notice about, closer to my 0 than I am to my 1. There we go. What do you notice about my inch tile? Yeah, it fills up that space between that 0 and that 1 really well, doesn't it? Let's look between the 1 and the 2. What do you think, guys? Yes. And what about the 3 and the 4? I just did 2 and 3 instead of 3 and 4. What do you notice about that inch tile every time? It fits in between each of those slots or each of those numbers beautifully, almost exactly, right? Yep. Now, this is a ruler. A ruler has 12. In fact, here's a regular ruler right here. Now, my ruler is kind of hard to see. I'm going to get a different one for our lessons, later lessons. But take a peek at this. Same thing that you notice. Starts at 0, 1, 2, 3. You can see all those numbers at the top. And they start at 12. Those are our inches, okay? Now, I do want to put this up here because I want you to see what an inch looks like, all right? Now, when I put this up here, and something I don't want you to forget is that when we're measuring our inch, just like what I showed you with our inch tile, our inch is not just where that 1 is, okay? So I make these a little bit longer so you can see them. Everybody see my little lines? The space in between where the 0 and this 1 is, that is the inch. Not just this guy right here, not the number 1, but the space in between the 0 and the 1. And the same thing is true when you go between your 1 and your 2, your 2 and your 3, your 3 and your 4, and so on. Even though each of those numbers is on there, that's not where the inch is. Each inch is the space between. So, everybody understand that? So I've got my 2 and my 3 and my 4 and my 5. And each of those tiles that I was showing you is 1 inch wide. 1, 2, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches. Cool, right? Yes. These are an inch. An inch is about a quarter wide, or a quarter is about an inch wide. An inch tile is an inch wide. 2 of my fingers might be about an inch wide. Might take more of your fingers to make my fingers. Okay? Now, an inch is a great unit of measure. It's a standard unit of measure. We find it on a ruler. There's another thing that we find on the ruler. Oh yeah, guys, are you ready for this? There it is. Look at what else you have. Take a peek. What do you notice at the numbers at the top? Yeah, they're a little bit closer together, aren't they? What else do you notice? There's a cm there. You're right. Guess what? Those are called centimeters. Can you all say centimeters? Centimeters. A centimeter is another standard unit of measure. That means, my friends, if I say, oh, I got a pencil and it was 12 centimeters long, that centimeter, whether it's a centimeter on this ruler, or a centimeter on this ruler, or a centimeter on another ruler, centimeters are the same, just like the inch. But just as you noticed, my friends, a centimeter is much smaller than a inch. So I'm going to tag some of my centimeters here from my ruler. So I want you to see how much smaller they are. Look at that. that space between that 0 and that 1, that's the 1 centimeter. If I did a space to my 1 and my 2, there's another one. Between my 2 and my 3, and my 3 and my 4. That's what 4 centimeters looks like. This is what 4 inches looks like. Big difference, right? Here, we'll even do one more to make 5 so you can see what 5 looks like. So this is 5 centimeters. This is 5 inches. Whew! Look at that. Now, a centimeter is about the length, about the width of my pinky finger. So when you're thinking about things that are about the same size as what these units of measure, especially when we're thinking about the standard units of measure, we can think about a quarter for an inch, a pinky finger for a centimeter, and I use these little tiny cubes sometimes. They're about the size of my teeny tiny cube. So you will continue to find things that are those sizes and get to make some good comparisons all on your own. Isn't that exciting? These standard units are what we're going to be using a lot in second. Gosh, golly bum, we're not in first grade. In second grade. Now, one more thing I want to share with you is that tool that we use, that ruler. That ruler is our tool of measurement that holds our inches and our centimeters. Okay, isn't that awesome? All right, shall we do some more, have some more fun? Okay, I'm going to tape up for this fun. I'm going to tape up my ruler. Very good, very good. And I'm also going to tape up each of my little tiles. Now, you can do this in your journal too, I believe, or you can hang with me and talk to me about it. Now, when I put my first tile up, where do you think I'm going to start this? Am I going to start it at the 1? Am I going to start it at my 3 or my 0? My rules of measurement still apply, don't they, friend? Oh, yes, you guys are so smart. We're still going to start at the beginning. That beginning is that 0, guys. Yes, yes, yes. We don't want to start somewhere else just because we're using standard units of measure. We still want to start at the beginning, and we don't want to skip. No gaps. And no overlapping. And we're going to use the same unit the whole time. So those same rules still apply, even if we're using our standard units of measure instead of our non-standard units. And check this out. I'm going to line it up just right, my friends. And I'm going to stop with 5. Okay. Oopsie daisy. Got an extra little piece. Oh, should I go to 6? Oh, what the hey. We can do that. Okay. Now, why might we like these standard units of measure over our tiles or our paper clips? Well, it's a lot easier to keep track of, isn't it? If I want to put up my ruler, boom, bada bing, bada boom, that's 6 inches long. I could have come up here and measured that, and it would have been a little over 5 inches long. So when I'm using this, it's a lot faster. No, pieces aren't falling all over the place, are they? Nope, they're not getting bonked. It's all in one stick, isn't it? Now, when we're using these, and I want you to continue to do the same thing, I want you to be mindful of how you can actually measure these tools. So we know that when we see our 1 here, this is 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch, but they end right there at where that number goes. Let me show you how we would do that with this string. So my string, and you might find this string in your notebook. We'll use the string again, the same string again tomorrow, but we're gonna use this ruler to help us. So I'm gonna look on my inch side, and where am I gonna start? My 0. So I'm going to line my 0 right up there, right at the end, and I'm going to see where it stops. Now, you can see, you might be able to see, it. Right, my 4 is right here, and it's a little bit past my 4, so it's very much like my 4 paper clips up here with my marker, but it is almost 4 inches long. How many? 4. What's my unit? My unit is inches. This is my unit that I'm using, okay? Centimeters will be the unit we learn a little bit more about tomorrow. When you're practicing your work and practicing this measurement, I want you to be taking a close eye, being very precise, lining up at that 0 and seeing what number you land on. Remember, where you land, that's the number of inches at the end of the object you're measuring. So if you land at the 6, it's 6 inches long. If you end at the 3, it's 3 inches long. Happy measuring, 2nd grade.